Hey guys, thank you for supporting the channel. YouTube changed the rules, so green text channels like mine probably won't get monetized ever, unless something will change. Your help keeps the channel going. Thank you so much, and enjoy the next video. Hey X. I am sorry for any formatting errors, or anything of that sort, as this is my first time posting here. I feel like I am out of options, and this may be the only place I can get some semblance of an answer. I thought I was doing better, but this weekend I could not stop thinking about this event. I have work tomorrow, and figure that getting it all written out might help me get a few hours of sleep. This all occurred about 6 years ago, the summer I graduated from high school. Me and 3 friends were all going to colleges hours away from each other, so as for final hurrah we all pitched in and rented a cabin in the Appalachians for a week. It was maybe 10 minutes away from the nearest town, but still surrounded by development. The whole thing was probably more tourist trap than anything, but we didn't care. We planned to spend the days hiking and exploring the nearby towns, then spend the night shooting the shit and playing COD Zombies on my buddy's old Xbox 360. We spent the majority of the first day just driving up there, and it was dark by the time we got to the cabin. We set everything up, chose rooms, and played a few rounds of Keno on the TV in the common area. We called it a night a few hours later, and we all planned to get up early the next morning. I want to emphasize that we did not have any drugs of any kind with us. I've tried to tell this story to my parents, and they were convinced that it was nothing more than a bad trip. This was not the case. The next morning, I woke up with my alarm at 7 o'clock. I went downstairs to find I am the only one up, even though we all agreed to get up at this time. I went to my friend's room, and started knocking on his door to try to wake him up, no response. At this point, I am a bit fed up, so open his door and enter. Nothing. The covers of his bed are messed up, like someone had been sleeping in them, and his luggage was here, but he was gone. At this point, I thought that these assholes had just left early. I checked the other 2 rooms, and saw that they were empty as well. Just to be sure they left, I went out to the driveway. The car was still here. I figure that this must just be a part of some joke they decided to pull on me. I walk back in and start yelling for them, telling them to cut the bullshit so we could start hiking. Nothing. No response but my slight echo. I tear through the house trying to find them, but they are not here. At this point, the only spot they could be is the woods out back. I call one of them, and hear his phone ring from upstairs. I find it laying on the nightstand next to his bed. Repeat the process, and see that all these fuckers have left their phones home. I spend about 5 minutes looking for them out there when I notice that the woods are quiet. I am by no means a woodsman, and spent my entire childhood in the suburbs, but even I could feel that the forest should not be this quiet. There were no birds, none of the summer insects, just the quiet breeze through the trees. I say fuck it and decide that if they want to spend the first morning hiding in the woods to fuck with me, I am just going to wait inside. I play some zombies again, but after about 30 minutes passes I start getting worried. There is no reason for them not to be back by now. I start getting really fucking worried. I write a note telling them that I am looking for them in the woods, and to call me if they find the note before I find them. 30 minutes in these terrifyingly quiet woods, and still nothing. I have no clue what to do, so I go back to the cabin, and call my parents. First my mom does not answer, then my dad. I then call 911. At the time it felt like a bit of an overreaction, but I did not know what else to do. The line rings for about 5 minutes, but is never picked up. The only thing I can think of is just to drive into town to try and find help. I search around, take the keys, and head off in my buddy's SUV. I get about 5 minutes down the road when I see some asshole who has his car stopped in the middle of the lane. I swerve around him, only to come across more of these cars, just stopped. Look inside as I pass them, and they are all empty. By the time I am close to the town, The roads are blocked by these empty, parked cars, all of them still running. I think this was the moment I realized I was alone. I am not going to act like that thought never crossed my mind earlier, but this was the first evidence I had of it. I make it into the small town, and it is void of people. There is no one manning the gas station I enter, no one in the diner next door. I break down into tears. How else do you react to this realization? I spent the rest of that day just looking for anything to show that someone was there. Nothing all day. I make my way back to the house, and go to sleep, hoping that all of this is some bad nightmare I will wake up from. I don't. By the next morning, I fully believe that I am the last human on Earth. I wish I could say that I had some enlightened response to this realization, but the first thing I did was jack off. I strip butt-ass naked, walk out onto the back porch, and play the skin flute looking out onto the woods. Following my act of self-expression, I try to figure out a game plan. I figure that the most important thing to figure out is a food situation, as I have already ate my way through half of the food we brought with us. I raided the gas station and the supermarket, and came back with a horde of non-perishable food, bottled water, and junk food. I stopped by a diner, and used a flat-top griddle to try to make some of the canned foods a little more edible. It doesn't work. I spend what I think were about 3 weeks just trying to keep my mind occupied. I can go more into depth about this if any of you are interested. I begin to venture farther away from the R we were staying, and began to explore some of the surrounding towns. I spent some nights sleeping in the car, some nights sleeping in motels off the highway. I spent one night in a diner whose walls were covered in Sasquatch posters. There were no animals or bugs around either, but the trees seemed fine. One morning, I drive into another small town, and step out to take a piss. Here, however, there was a sound. For the first time in days, I hear the sound of a car idling. This was unique, as most of the other cars had all ran out of gas days, if not weeks ago. It is parked outside of a brick building near the outskirts of the town. I approach cautiously, and enter the building. Here I see the first human since everyone disappeared. He is at the end of a long hallway, in a room filled with filing cabinets. He is tearing through them, like he is looking for something. I wish I could say that he looked particularly interesting, or was wearing something like a hazmat suit, but honestly he just looked about as normal as you could be. A mid-40s. Slightly overweight, average height man, wearing a rolled-up collared shirt and jeans. I clear my throat to let him know I am here, and he turns around. He has a normal-looking face, with salt and pepper hair and a buzz cut. He sees me, and breaks into a smile, and says, "You are not Anon yet, right?" In an almost joking manner, like he knew the answer would be no. I stare back with a look of confusion, and his expression changes on a dime. He looks partly shocked, partly furious, partly confused, like I just told him I fucked a mom he did not realize he had. He looks into my eyes, and within a second of our gaze meeting, I am bolting upright in bed, at the cabin. I frantically look around, and see all my friends are still there. I try to explain to them what happened, but they all make fun of me for being so scared of a nightmare. It wasn't a dream though. I remember it as vividly as memories, and during it, I tried to wake myself up multiple times. All the places I visited were exactly the same out of the dream. I had never been to that Sasquatch diner before, but I convinced my friends to drive over there, and just like in the dream, it was covered in Sasquatch posters, this time with staff running it. The only exception to this was the brick building where I saw the man. We drove through the town, but the building was gone. This pretty much ruined my life. I know that part of this is just my lazy ass trying to make excuses, but I truly feel this way. I don't think my life is real. By any stretch, it feels just as real as that dream. I've dealt with SI because of this. I don't sleep well anymore. I have no motivation to keep going in life. I dropped out of college halfway through my first semester, and now work a shit job for shit pay. My parents have paid for therapists, but none of them helped. They all try to convince me I dreamt it all, but I know that is not true. I have given up on therapy. I really hope some of y'all can give me answers. I need them.